into the minds of the event professionals and the deep dive into their lives, the people that make things happen. I'm your host, Expo Rich, and my guest today, Michelle Meter. We have the partner and co-founder of Fast Forward Events, and which is your flagship event is the San Diego Food and Wine Festival and SommCon.
Yeah, well done.
Thank you. Well, you want to tell us a little bit about Fast Forward?
Yeah. So my business partner Ken and I launched Fast Forward back in 2004, and we've been longtime event producers. Way back in the day. I'm not going to say how long ago. I produced the Dima show, so the Diving Equipment Marketing Association trade show, and so IAEE and being in and around this environment was, part of, what was so fundamentally important to us as trade show producers. Ken and I had always talked about launching something together outside of the association world, and at the time, he was a pretty avid wine collector, and I liked to drink his wine, and so we got to talking one day, and we just felt like there was some market opportunity that wasn't being met, and we wanted to produce events that were really well aligned with our passions. And next thing you know, we're launching a consumer wine and food festival and having to do really, really horrible research up in like Napa and Sonoma, and
rough.
I know, it was really, really tough. And then from there, we really became experts in understanding what the pain points were for our industry and how things were moved through the supply channel, and trying to help navigate that from a B2B perspective in a consumer world. We felt like there was also some missing links with respect to education and to trade opportunities related to the B2B side of the wine industry, and so SommCon came off of that. So SommCon is our multi-day educational conference for beverage professionals, and we launched that about 6 years ago. So those are our two primary shows that we do. So we are definitely B2B and B2C.
Yeah.
We straddle both worlds. And then during the pandemic, we launched this crazy streaming service, which is an on-demand streaming platform for the global wine, beer, and spirits industry. And so now we've curated over 300 pieces of education, and it's become kind of our solution to a virtual platform. Everyone was looking for what the hell are we doing now,
yes.
Right?
Yeah.
And we felt like it was a really, really good way for us to continue to get buyers in front of suppliers, and something that maybe was a little more evergreen than what our physical shows were. So that's kind of primarily what we do now,
and that's great because everybody was kind of like, what do we do next, and how do we? If our customers aren't going to come to us, and we can't have meetings and conventions and things, for you to think that immediately fill that void of the digital platform. It's a good move.
Yeah, and it's the nice thing about it is it's what so many of us talk about, right? It's what fills our year outside of our shows, and as long as it adds to your strategy, it adds to your revenue capabilities, and it creates community, then it isn't a distraction, right? So we were always kind of careful to look at it and say, are we adding something that's going to pull us away from what we need to be doing with respect to driving value with our shows? And really what we found with it is that it's become a really great resource and tool for our trade, our industry, to stay current, stay relevant. Many of them can't travel to our shows, and so this is a way for us to add audience and mind share in a way that we may not capture otherwise.
And it's interesting that without everything that happened, you probably wouldn't have even thought to
maybe not.
Yeah.
It's so cliche, but necessity is the mother of all invention, right?
Right.
Just like everyone else, we're like, what are we going to do now, and how are we going to drive revenue? We're small. We're not like some of the bigger companies where they have something called reserves.
Right.
I
know about that.
I'm an independent operator, and so my reserves it's in my mortgage.
Yeah.
So, it's my home. So we just had to get scrappy, and I think that there's something really spectacular when you talk to entrepreneurs different than maybe some of the larger corporations because, and I'm not saying that innovation doesn't happen at the larger level, it certainly does, but there was no red tape for us. So, we sent the team home thinking like everyone else, in a week we'll see ya.
Yeah.
Be back at the office on Wednesday next week, and they never came back.
Yeah.
But for us, it was like, we're going to tear this all up and ask ourselves, what kind of company are we? And then try to find ways to rebuild revenue from there. And, we whiteboarded a whole bunch of ideas. We picked 2 or 3 that we really felt like we could continue to get budget off of, keep our team together. We didn't let go of not one person that entire time.
That's amazing.
So it's a badge of honor for
Yes.
me a little bit, something I'm really proud of.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And talking about smaller companies and entrepreneurs and things, like one person, the way that they said it was great because when they were comparing us as a smaller contractor to a larger one, said that I like working with you because it's like working with a speedboat versus a cruise ship.
Yeah.
So when I ask you for something, you can come back with great ideas and execute on them very fast.
Yeah.
Versus
Yeah.
that, and it's kind of the same thing where you guys can think about an idea, execute on it, test it,
Yeah.
but there's nobody that you have to answer to because you're making those decisions and
Yeah.
you're immediately doing it.
Yeah,
So,
hands down. Yeah.
yeah,
And it's to me like the digital piece that we launched, and it's kind of different from what you see out there because we've flung ourselves into the subscription based model and world.
Right.
And so now in terms of our company, we're a little bit more, multi-dimensional. So, it's become a really good source of revenue.
value add for everybody
A value,
for
yeah.
part of who's been part of
Absolutely,
it.
absolutely.
Yeah, so prior to Dima,
Yeah.
what brought you into that? Like, how did you find yourself working with Dima? Like, how did you become part of this industry even prior to that?
Into the world of
Yeah.
events.
What hooked you?
I think kind of like a lot of people here, we're wired a little bit differently. We have a real high tolerance, I think, for pain in a lot of ways.
That's a good way to put it.
I was always immersing myself into, into launching, creating, building. And so for me, it wasn't necessarily about the event industry. It was about like concepting and creating. And events came to me really through my business partner, Ken. And so he and I have worked together in some capacity forever.
Yeah.
We're like family now more than anything else.
Yeah.
But back in that day, we were in the publishing industry. So he owned a magazine in the scuba diving industry, and we were producing consumer-based events throughout the United States, events down through Mexico and into the Caribbean. And then all of that led to us winding up at Dima, which then led to lots of other things. It took a little bit of a departure in between my event life and my company that I launched, and I worked in public relations for a handful of years and ran a business-to-business division out of San Diego and a lifestyle division out of New York, and did lots of events and stuff like that.
That's a great core skill set to have going into, basically you're in another lifestyle now with, wine connoisseurs that's a lifestyle. And one thing that I love about your story and like getting to know you and talking is that people talk about like if you love what you do, you're never working. Well, you're a diver.
Yeah.
And you love wine,
I
and
do.
you went from working in the dive industry to now working in the wine industry, and it's like, that's something that's rare.
I think you have to surround yourself with things that are going to give you pleasure, and it's. I like the statement that you make. I don't know if that's necessarily true that because sometimes it feels like a whole lot of work.
Yeah,
I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, true.
Sometimes I'm like, oh my God, this is a lot.
Yeah, it is true.
But it's a different value proposition if you like it.
Yeah.
If you really love your industry. I love our events industry. I mean, how good does it feel to be here right now? It feels great, and I love the niche that we fulfill in wine and spirits because I can talk about that
Yeah.
forever. I'm a pretty passionate person, so you give me a topic that I really like, and I'm just going to go for it. And then diving and travel. I mean, it just kind of checks all my boxes.
And it's something to be. I could definitely say I'm a little jealous of all those like that path that you have. But and then like with my journey, I grew up around it, so it's kind of interesting because leaving it for a part of my life and then just coming back to it is like was an easy move. So yeah.
But don't you think that that's kind of part of it too when you choose your partnerships too? It's like we're all walking around here today and we're talking to lots of different service providers who can do lots of different things.
Yeah.
And a lot of them are very similar, At the I feel like I need to pause.
Yeah.
In San Diego, there's a flight path.
Yeah.
And whenever the airplanes go over, you just pause your conversation for a minute.
Yeah, exactly.
You're like, hold please.
I think we're good. Okay. So, yeah, and we talk about our industry is so niche, but also like your sector that you're fulfilling and being a part of is awesome. But I was talking to someone earlier, and it's like knowing that you're part of, that startup company and their success, and you creating a pathway for them to get buyers and new customers, and just being part of that whole ecosystem of someone's success and we were talking about this in my organization recently about giving a better understanding to even the low-level line workers in the warehouse and letting them know how important what the ultimate thing that they're doing is. You're not loading trucks. What you're doing is you're providing a company a platform to then expose their brand and get new buyers and create wealth and stuff. So we're part of something much bigger. And it was great to hear. It was nice to for someone to tell me that I need to remind my people because, it is important, and it does make you feel much better about loading that truck or building a sign or a structure. It's nice to know that you're part of something bigger, and like you talked about, like where you're putting those buyers and sellers together with wine.
Yeah, I mean, when we look around at things like this, there's the immediate piece that you can see. It's the transactional part. Like I'm gonna talk to you about the thing that I have that I want you to look at and maybe buy from me.
Right.
But then there's that other piece where 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 deals are really made and where partnerships are created and relationships are formed, and those things may not materialize into something that year, but it becomes part of the fabric of what you lean to in terms of your network throughout your career. And so whether that's specific to the wine industry that we're in or how we see things here at IAEE, I just think it's so critically important. And I love that you share that story, with your employees so that way they understand the impact that they're having and what doors that might open for your attendees.
So, you like I said, you've done many different things, and now like having your own company, leadership is a big part of that.
Yeah.
And so, how does being and learning how to run trade shows and be in that space help you to be a better leader of an organization?
Yeah. Well, I've like a lot of people here, I've been at it a long time, and I think it's evolved. So, early in my career, I was definitely someone who was like, I've got this, I can do this.
Yeah.
I was more like more of a lone soldier, like, give me all the projects, I can take it all. And I've settled down a lot from there because you just, you can't do it without good support, good people who you're going to surround yourself with that are, experts in, that thing that makes them unique and special, those attributes that are going to make what you do that much better and more spectacular. And so I think that part of that environment makes you really understand how reliant you have to be on other people in order for the product to be what the product can be. And And I think that, through that, it's opened up lots of opportunities to, be of service here and be of service with other trade organizations. But I think, and I believe very strongly that my job is to be that support and be of service to my team. Like, my job isn't to tell them what to do. My job is to give them what they need in order to be successful. Yeah. And I take very much a service-led approach to leadership. And I think that that's, what, and I also think, to a point, if you approach, your community that way too, how do I serve you best? It really changes things.
Gary Vee, he said an interesting thing when he goes, my people don't work for me, I work for my people.
Exactly. Yeah, that's exactly the point.
And I love that, because it's like, if I can do whatever you need to help you do your job, that should be my role.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I love it. So, what's the next thing that you're excited about? It could be, big picture for shows, different shows, or in life. Like, what gets you excited about getting out of bed?
Well, I mean, work-wise, what I will tell you, I'm thrilled about our SommCon, our conference. We took a 3-year hiatus, so we just came back this past November, and it was just so good to be back.
It was just a few weeks ago.
It was just a few. I'm still numb. I still have my fatigue, but no, it was great. And it just, because everybody was scared about whether or not these things would be able to come back in the way that we had hoped. And certainly in that industry sector too, hospitality was hit so hard, and there's been so much transition with where these buyers landed after the pandemic. So many of them were furloughed, but we were just really pleased with the result. And so going into next year, we're launching back with our full schedule. So we still have our consumer pieces. We've got a couple new launches that we're working on. I can't say anything yet, but we've got a couple of new launches that are going to be popping up in 23. So, and that's kind of what really fuels me. I love our products that we have now. We've been doing them a long time, but that the innovation part, the opportunity to bring something new to the table, something that maybe hasn't been seen quite the same way. That's what we're really excited about.
Yeah, and so I'll be looking forward to hearing about those new launches.
Yeah.
That's exciting. Where can people find information on SommCon and San Diego Food and Wine?
Yeah, so SommConUSA.com and then San Diego Wine Classic.com.
San Diego Wine Classic.
Yeah.
And I still need to get out there.
I know. I'm disappointed.
I know. I was bummed that I couldn't make it this year, but I'm gonna burn it in my calendar for next year.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, that's great.
Well, thank you so much, Michelle. This has been
Ladies and gentlemen, show
And with that note.